explicit, reasonable uncertainty, or factual ambiguity resulting from lack of explicitness in the statute should resolve in the favor of a taxpayer. Explicit, ambiguity. Explicit. What is ambiguity? Because we've got to know what this means. Doubleness. Doubtfulness of meaning, duplicity, indistinctness, uncertainty of meaning, of expression used in written instruments, want of clearness or definiteness, difficult to comprehend or distinguish. And explicit is simply distinctly stated, not merely implied, open and distinctive statement. Does anybody in this room expect the law to be anything less than explicit, clear, want of clearness? Law should be clear, concise, at all times. George Cody, and I love this quotation, then we're going to just jump right in. He said it very well, didn't he? George Cody of the Inner Temple, barrister at law of 1848, Inner Temple. What goes on in the Inner Temple? Ever been to your law library and see the Inner Temple in there? There's one at UBC, University of British Columbia. Go in there and there's a room above the door that says Inner Temple. It's always locked. I always try to get in there. I know there's not a picture of Buddha on the wall. But what's the difference from the Inner Temple to the Outer Temple? What's that line of demarcation in the sand? What is the difference? Knowledge. That's it. What they possess in the Inner Temple is knowledge that which those in the Outer Temple do not. And it's my contention that Inner Temple barristers speak to Inner Temple barristers. They understand what they're saying to each other. Those in the out do not quite catch the picture. They're not listening. George wrote this in 1848. It is beyond a doubt that many of the more positive errors and gross defects of legislation are to be prevented by observing a very few intelligible and simple rules. Here's the key, which any person capable of dividing grammatically a sentence of his native language would be competent to apply. Through neglect of such rules, a law, good in its substance, is rendered confused in its form, proportionally difficult to be understood and applied, and sometimes is even made inoperative, or what is worse, a delusion and a snare. And then he went to take apart the then Inland Revenue Act. But stop there for just a moment. Inoperative, I can accept. We're all human, and we are making a mistake is not beyond any of us. If we were all free of mistake, I'm not quite sure that we'd be here. However, delusion and a snare implies intent. The key is, of course, right here, dividing grammatically. And funny enough, when I got into the detaxing game, and I really didn't have a label for it then, I got a demand for return. Demand for return. As you know, in the languaging procedure, you'll learn pretty soon that for return was an adverb verb. But you know, they didn't want a verb thing from me. They wanted a noun. They wanted a piece of paper, substance. And so 4 years ago, I went ahead and started studying this thing, and I wrote a paper called Preposition. And in that preposition, in that letter that I had set up to send to the government, I wrote in there, I find your comments confusing and unintelligible. And then I thought, well, it is confusing. I don't know crap about grammar. I'm probably the one who hasn't got this right. So I didn't go there and spent the next 3 years studying definitions and subject matter. And if you've ever been to the seminar, or have one of my Silver Level 1 study kit, you'll notice on the computer disk there's a file called Demand Flow. And that Demand Flow disk has 17 pages worth of definitions that spawn from the word demand. Because what I did is I went demand for returns, and I went into the grammatical subdividing of it and thought this makes no sense, but of course it must make sense because everybody's doing it. And I went into reading into subject matter, and that's what I spent the last 3 years doing. And then when I hooked into David Miller, my mind just exploded. It just instantly ignited. And I had talked to Dave one day, and I said, the worst thing they could have ever done, Dave, is let you meet me. If you ever watch Top Gun, Tom Sherritt says to Tom Cruise at one point, who's going to win? And he says, I am. And he goes, arrogance. That's good in a pilot. Well, I think it's pretty much, to an extent, a needed thing when we're doing what we're doing here. That arrogance comes from a confidence, not an ego. And I think we all need that confidence, and we'll have some by the end of this day. I'm sure you've all learned some things today and yesterday that are exciting. So you're familiar with the number key? 1 equals an adverb. We're going to refer to some of these numbers later. That just makes my life a little bit quicker here. 1 is an adverb. What's an adverb do? Modifies a verb. What does add to the verb, and you changed it? What is a verb? Remember what a verb is? Action, to do. It's funny when you look in the dictionary, it always says, often says to suffer, but never says to enjoy. Who wrote that damn thing? What's an adjective? Adjective is a modifier, qualifier of a light. There we go. Now I know not to knock that. Okay. Adjectives modify nouns. What's a noun? Person, place, or thing. We'll get into detail more on that. Past tense, pretty obvious what the past is. What's future tense? Pretty obvious what future is. We'll show words that express that later. 7 is a pronoun. What's a pronoun? Typically, a pronoun replaces an already disclosed noun. Jack has a red car. His car's fast. His is the pronoun. Preposition, preposition. For, of, and by. Those are prepositions. Article, the, a, an. A couple of articles. Conjunctions, or an and. Just take note of the numbers. 1 equals all the way down. You got that now? Okay, great. Are we communicating? Currently we are communicating. And what is communication in itself? Whether it be verbal or written, communication. We have to boil down to something here. And what we're going to go with this theme is that we're going to definitively prove that procedure supersedes subject matter. If that is not first your foundation, then everything you say afterward has no foundation. So lay this foundation up first whenever you attempt to explain yourself in the truth language. Communication, as defined, is an imparting, the act of making oneself understood, an expression of thoughts or opinion, the means of passing or sending information from one place to another, the means of passing. Communication theory is a study of principles and methods by which information is conveyed. Principles, methods, and means. Communication, as defined by Duclos News, 2nd edition, Law Dictionary, Canadian. It's a method, manner, or means by which information is transmitted or imparted. What is a method? Method is a system. Method is defined as a procedure. Synonymous with procedure. Method, means, and manner. Page 3, yeah. Let's make sure I got my pages in order. Yes, I do. What is procedure? Can be defined as, of course, a course of action. And communicate, from an etymological point of view, is to make common. In order that you and I are able to communicate, we have to be able to make common certain procedures and understandings. Failing to make something base common, we can't communicate. You come up to me and go Unkongawa, and I go Hingtai Hong Bang. We have nothing in common. We're having a difficulty communicating. I'm going like this to you, going peace, and you're going that means peace. We're not communicating. We're creating conflict and frustration. In order to communicate, we have to make something common, and typically procedure is the best way to do it. As members of an international community, we have recognized and made common certain procedures for the purposes of communicating in order to trade. Trade. Sir Daniel talked about trade and money today. Without trade, nothing moves. You wouldn't have the shirt on your body. You wouldn't have the food in your belly. You wouldn't have the seed in your farm if there wasn't for trade. We have to have trade to survive. Otherwise, we live in the bush solely all by ourselves. It's pretty hard to do with this many billions of people on the planet to be single. Well, here's some simple procedure or commonality that we all understand worldwide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Will you all agree with me that this represents the value of 1? Is that a yes or a no? Okay, now we have joinder. That's a fact. That's now 2. You agree? It's a fact. Once you say yes, we have joinder to the fact. If you said no, then we'd have to discuss for a little longer. Well, what does it represent? That's 10. All right. If that's 10, then what does this represent? 1? Great. Now we have joinder. If I pull out my laser pen and say to you, this is my laser pen, and you say, no, it's a shovel. I say, okay, this is a shovel. Pull me out a shovel and I'll call it a laser pen. We have joinder. It doesn't matter. As long as we agree, for the purposes of our contract, we have full disclosure. Once you and I have disclosure, doesn't matter what the rest of the world thinks, because it's you and I who have the right to contract between ourselves. We can call anything that we want. That's our right, as long as you agree. Arithmetic, divided, multiplication, addition, subtraction, equals, and brackets. We all agree these are all perform certain functions worldwide. Without that, forget accounting. Time, 11:30:10. We all express time the same way. It's agreed worldwide. That's how we do it, by procedure. Dates, symbols, restricted, copyright, don't go there, etc. These are just a few of the many examples of how we have common procedure in line so that we're able to communicate worldwide. Without even that basic understanding of those numbers, you think we could trade? If we couldn't agree to that, could we trade? No way. You wouldn't trade 1 grain of salt because you wouldn't know how to express 1 grain of salt. You have to have commonality in your communication procedure. 1, 2, 3. 1 plus 2 equals 3. By the procedure of adding 1 with 2, we achieve the answer of 3. We will all agree that this to be a true statement. 1 plus 2 equals 3. Anybody deny that? All right, we have joinder. Why? We all trust arithmetic. Why? Because it's full disclosure. The foundation of our trust is twofold: the modus operandi, or the order of operation, the procedure of addition, and 2, that the symbol 1 represents the value of 1, 2 represents the value of 2, and so on, no more, no less, therefore establishing joinder and unity with all facts in good faith and full disclosure. We trust this because we have good faith and full disclosure in all elements up there. We know what it means. We know what the addition means, we know what the equal means, and we know what the value of the numbers are. Good faith, full disclosure. We all have trust in that. If you fail to have one or both or either of these elements missing in a contract, it's null and void. This goes back to time immemorial, the law merchant. One merchant could not trade with the other if he was withholding information that he knew was pertaining to the contract or to the trade. That was called bad faith. Good faith is defined as not taking any unconscientious advantage of another. Never taken unconscientious. If you have information that's relevant and not disclosing, you're acting in bad faith. If that is discovered, that contract is null and void, and that still holds true to today. Arithmetic, by the way, is defined as the science of numbers. Getting to the point that procedure always overrides subject matter. Science of numbers. Science is defined as knowledge as of general truths or particular facts, or obtained or shown to be correct by accurate observation and thinking. Knowledge coordinated, arranged, and systematized with reference to general truths or knowledge or laws. Observations. What do we observe? All scientific principles on this planet came from an observation. What did we observe, if not nature in action? Thus, the supremacy of law of nature. There's gravity. There's one. That's an observation. Every principle in math, science, has always been, one way or another, boiled down to commonality. It's nature in action. Therefore, again, the law of nature is superior. No country wars over 1 plus 2 equals 3. That's one of Dave's lines, and I haven't seen my kids argue over that one yet, so kids are a good caliber, aren't they? In order to engage in commerce, trade, or contract, we require full disclosure and good faith of all the matters involved. The above arithmetic procedure is a universal procedure in all countries of the world. 1 plus 2 equals 3. Without this basic understanding of procedure, the addition and full disclosure of the facts, the numbers, we could not communicate for purposes of contract, trade, or commerce, trade, or contract any place in the world. 1 plus 2 equals 4. Would you like to do business with me? Anybody? Come on, there's got to be a taker. Come on. We got a sucker here. Woo, we got one. There's the man. Give him a prize. 1 + 2 = 4. Yeah, my books are cooked. Come talk to me. What about going to court? 1 + 2 = 4, and that's an order. All good faith is lost once you've been ordered. I was in court November 15th, and I was in there looking for the Income Tax Act. I said to the judge, "Hey, Your Honor, this is the prosecutor's entered into evidence, CCH. It's a copyright, abbreviated, consolidated, revised, and unofficial version of the law." He says to me, "I'm not going to argue with you today about that not being official, because it is." And I asked him, "Is it by order of the court that I utilize that document?" "Yes." "Pardon?" "By order of the court?" "Yes." "Yes?" "Yes, it is." 3 times. All good faith is lost because I open up the book and say, well, it says right here, it's not official. It's not my words, it's theirs. As soon as you're ordered, all good faith is lost. Procedure always supersedes subject matter. Subject matter is always subordinate to procedure. In novels and books, documents, and the lex scripti, written law, subject matter is the romance of the words you're reading, the color of the language, whereas procedure is a course of action, an order of operation, utilized first for the purpose of communicating the very substance of our thoughts, that which we desire to enunciate to another. You have a thought in your mind. If you're able to, and I'm asking you, if you're able to, communicate that thought with me now without utilizing a procedure, already known or otherwise. Try. Come on. Try and express a thought without using some sort of a procedure. Pretty tough, isn't it? Duh. You'll notice the known has the OWN in there. Just thought I'd sneak that in. Open World Network. The placement of one word after another on a sheet of paper is a procedure. It's a course of action. One word after the other is procedure in itself. Furthermore, a course of action or procedure is utilized first to determine what the subject matter in fact is by comparison to that which we already have observed and had knowledge of. Example, first you perceive something. Something there. I recognize there's something in my eye. Oh, there it is. First thing. Once you perceive it, then number 2, you cognize. You become conscious or aware of the thing in front of you. Once you're conscious of it, you now have knowledge. Once you have knowledge, you have a thought. Once you have a thought, you're thinking. Once you're thinking and you perceive the same thing once more, you recognize it. That's a procedure. This laser pen in front of me is subject matter. The fact that I can recognize that it is something is a procedure, and that procedure is called thinking. Recognize is to make known, to know again. The subject matter is made known by way of a procedure, a course of action named thinking. Thinking is defined as the process of mental action. Process is synonymous with procedure. Thinking is a procedure. Therefore, and again, procedure always supersedes subject matter, because without the procedure of thinking, you couldn't recognize the subject matter in the first place. Make sense? And then, as I say, procedure supersedes subject matter. Thinking is simultaneously both a noun and a verb. Think about thinking, won't you? Try not. Don't think of a yellow elephant. To communicate the word rat, we utilize a procedure. First the letter R, the letter A, then the letter T. Alt to reverse the procedure, boom, T-A-R. And by procedure produces an entirely new word, tar. Didn't take much, now did it? One's walking, eating, and the other things on your roof. 4 + 4 divided by 4. You all know this one. What's the answer? 2. Wow. Hey, somebody's new. What's the correct answer? It's 2 or 5. Subject matter equals 2 by procedure, or the order of operation says 5. Order of operation says you got to divide. 4 divided by 4 is 1 + 4 = 5. 5 is the correct answer. There can only be one correct answer for there to be full disclosure. If I have 2 answers to one equation, do we have full disclosure? No. When it doesn't work for me, I take answer B. When it works for me, I take answer A. Hey, I'll go any which way I gotta go. Long as it's in my favor. Well, that's not good. If I have any equation or anything that has two ideas to the one equation, we don't have full disclosure. Therefore, the order of operation comes into play, showing you once again that the order of operation, the procedure, always supersedes subject matter. Which one brings you to the correct answer? B, the order of operation. So therefore, you will agree with me, I'm sure, that the procedure always supersedes subject matter. Is that a yay or a nay? How many think yes? Geez, not convinced yet? A few unconvinced, all right. Hard-nosers. Noun. A noun, as defined by the New World Dictionary 1934, noun is a thing. A noun is the name. It comes from Latin nomen, which means defined as name. Noun is a noun is the name of a person, place, or thing, of a thing that which we can see, hear, feel, or touch, or of anything that of which we can have any idea or notion of. Therefore, everything that you've ever seen with your eyes, anything that you've ever heard with the ears, anything that you've ever touched, felt, every idea, concept you've ever had is a noun. Everything you've ever seen with your eyeballs is a noun. As a universal procedure, nouns in whatever form are the only parts of speech utilized to present substance on your document, contracts, bargains, undertakings, and law, etc. Again, therefore, all nouns represent substance, and thus all nouns are facts. If everything you've ever seen has been a noun, everything. Actually, I'll put up the next slide here. To enunciate substance in your writings, contracts, bargains, undertakings, documents, and law, you must utilize a noun if you want to identify substance. Because, again, as if everything you've ever seen in your life has been a noun, one way or another, that's a noun. If I have a document, if the only way I can express substance is through the use of a noun, then I ask you this. If I have no nouns on my document, have I expressed any substance? And if I have no substance on my document, can I protect the subject of the document, which was apparently that there podium? No. Impossible. Can you name anything that's not a noun? Try. Can you think of anything that you'd like to protect that's not a noun? Try. Let me know when you got it. Does any other part of speech represent substance, yes or no? Spark up out here, Edmonton, yes or no? No. If your document is void of nouns, do you have any substance with your document, yes or no? No. If you modify your nouns, have you modified the fact, yes or no? Yes. What part of speech do we utilize to modify a noun or fact? Adjectives. Adjective is a word to describe, qualify, or limit a noun. Modify is to change somewhat the form or qualities of. To change somewhat the form or quality of. If you were to take two hot metals and put them in a bowl, what would happen? Two liquids. They just start to mold into each other, right? Starts to change into a new alloy, new form. When does it change? Nobody knows. Until it's finished or gets hard or whatever. When it's in change, it's in motion. Change is defined as change simply in ceasing to be the same. All nouns are facts. Procedure rule number 1. When two nouns are used together, the first noun modifies the second. In such cases, there's no formal indication of the fact that the first noun is used as a modifier except its position before the second noun. All nouns are facts. Is an adjective a fact? If the noun's the only part of speech that represents substance, then the noun's the only part of the speech that can represent the fact. An adjective is not a noun, therefore it cannot be a substance. There's no such a thing as an adjective car. White man, white hyphen man. Do you perceive a difference, yes or no? Could you imagine asking a judge that question? And he says no. He's certainly in no place to make judgment if he can't see the difference. I'm just we have any smokers in the room? Anybody have a lighter? I don't smoke, and I keep one just for this. But do you perceive a difference? Yes, you do. What does the difference represent? One is a fact, the other is an opinion. Which one is the fact, A or B? B. All right. This is easy. By the procedure, A converts the white into an adjective. White's a noun, command's a noun. Two nouns side by side. The first one converts into an adjective unless you enjoin them with a hyphen. Adjectives are with the color of the opinion, presumption and assumption for the modification, qualification, limitation of the fact noun before being established as such to your prejudice. Prejudice defined as a forejudgment, bias, or preconceived opinion. White man, I love this. Well, should be calling me a flesh man, shouldn't you? Somebody say, call my name? Oh, pretty close, yeah. Am I a white man? As David will say, what shade of white am I of the 1200 shades of gray? Am I a white man, yes or no? It's just simply an opinion. If there can be 1200 shades of white, then how the hell do you know what shade I'm talking about when I say to you white man? You have no clue, and therefore there's no disclosure in the adjective. It's disqualified. Clear. Clear glass. Clear. Is that clear? Pretty clear, eh? Come on, spark up. Is that clear? What about this plastic sheet here? Is that clearer? A little bit clearer, you think? What about the gas in here? Are you listening? Oh, it's child safety gizmo. It's on. Can you see it? You can? Alright, you got a good eye on you. Can you see that? I'm looking through it. Is that pretty clear? Yes or no? And so you'll all agree then that that which is clear is that which we cannot see? Is that clear enough for you as an adjective? Is there any disclosure in that? No. I also didn't play baseball. I was a wrestler. Can't catch, can't throw. Balls, that is. People, different game. When you got the white hyphen man, of course, the white hyphen man here is a compound noun. All nouns are facts once established and agreed upon by the parties to the agreement. If you and I were to contract, and I was to say to you, I'm going to buy the red hyphen car, and we're looking at it, then you and I have agreed that that be the example of a red hyphen car. Have you ever heard this before? For the people, by the people, of the people. People is now a noun. I'll show you why. It gets a little esoteric sometimes. Preposition denotes spatiality. Positioning. It creates a reference point for the placement of the noun in relation to other things and nouns, including yourself. To know that that thing is there for even just a flash, I have to be able to perceive it. In order to perceive it, it has to be able to come within my perception, even if not for just a flash of a second. The moment it does, it's in my perception. I now make a reference point for the thing. I now have a reference point for the placing of it. All prepositions, think about them. For, of, over, by, and with. For, of. Can you be for, of, or by no thing? It's possible. You can't be. Can you be under no thing? Can you be above no thing? Can you be with no thing, or in no thing, or within no thing? No. You can't. All prepositions denote spatiality. This thing, now that I have it, I have to create a reference point for it, which is the preposition. Just slow down the word a little bit. Preposition, slow down to preposition. It's a pre-placement, a preposition for the thing. Without the preposition, there is no reference point or placement for the noun. If a tree falls in the forest and no one is there to listen, does it make a sound? Who cares? Not relevant. If I'm not there and it makes no sound, I couldn't care. As long as it makes a noise when I'm there. It's all that I'm interested in. Nothing moves without thinking, and if I'm not there to think about it and perceive it, it's not relevant to my reality right here and now when it counts. I don't care what goes on with that tree falling, whether it makes a ton of sound or not. Not relevant. No preposition, no pre-placement for the thing. It's now spinning around. What spins? What moves? Verbs. The preposition represents the assignment for the authority of thinking, perception, and further recognizes the thing that is in front of the perceiver, and thus presents a preposition, a reference point for the thing. No reference point for the thing, you haven't brought it within your perception, it ain't there. Jupiter could fly by me right now at the speed of light. If I don't see it, what difference does it make? Okay? There could be 1,000 little aliens in here right now in a dimension 2 levels above me. If I can't see them, what difference does it make to me? I've got no reference point. I can't tell. It's not there. I need a reference point for the placement of the thing. You know, they said, hey, first we were in the void, right? And then there was movement. Well, how the hell do you know you move in a void exactly? If you have no reference point, no light getting bigger and smaller as you move, how do you know you move? You can go 10 trillions any which way without wind on your face or a little light getting bigger. How do you know you move? You need a reference point, a preposition to now identify and place that thing in relation to you and other things in the room and or on your paper. What a preposition, without a preposition for the establishment of a reference point in the placement of the noun thing cannot be within your perception, as a reference point has not been assigned. Thus, no assignment of authority for thinking. You haven't assigned an authority for the thinking. Nothing moves without thinking. Now you're in the void where all things happen and no thing happens. Doesn't really matter. You're not there to think about it. Who cares? You could be a galaxy spinning, but if you're not there to think about it, to perceive it, and make a reference point for its movement isn't relevant. You're not there to see it. For all nouns are with the requirement for a prepositional phrase in the immediate antecedent position of the noun for the presentment of the noun on the document. No preposition for it. What's the use of talking to somebody if you don't have a preposition of what you want to communicate? If you don't have a preconceived thought of what you wish to express, then why bother talking? Because if it's not, we'll just talk, and near the end of the sentence, I'll come up with whatever it is I needed to say. Yeah, that's it. Well, now we're just babbling without reason. Have a preposition, a preconceived thought, assignment for a thinking of where I intend to go. Yeah, I think David did this extremely well. I'll lower to the bottom and then come back up. The preposition is for the assignment of the authority of thinking. I recognize that I established a reference point as I am the thinking capacity and I have dominion over all things. I am sovereign. I'm aware of that. I have dominion. Isn't that scriptural? I have dominion over all things. I recognize that I established a reference point. When I'm going to talk on a piece of paper and enunciate my thinking and do so on paper, then I have dominion over that language, correct? Because it's my thoughts about to be expressed. You're going to tell me that I don't have my own thoughts that I cannot express? I have dominion over that. The article accepts the authority and points to the thing that is being commanded to be. The noun is now with the presentation. And I think this is just a very clear way that David's put this. I quite like it. By the people. By the people. By the vote for the judge of the people. By represents the assignment of authority of thinking. It's the preposition. You've assigned the authority by way of the vote here. You're going to court. The cop wants $100 from you because you were speeding. Is he going to get the $100? Let's find out. Judge says, you owe $100. And you say, judge says, you owe $100. You say, forget it. I'm not going to do that. Well, you're speeding. Says, so what? You agreed that if you speed, you pay a fine. I didn't agree. Yes, you did. You assigned the authority by the vote. And the judge says, on the article, I accepted the authority, and I'm pointing to the thing to be commanded, which happens to be you. You owe the $100. Preposition, article, noun. Assignment of the authority by the vote. The article accepts the authority and points to the thing that's commanded to be. You make a noun. What if I take out the "vi" out of here? Take out the vote. Same scenario. Speeding, pulled over in your court. Owe me $100. Forget it. I'm not giving you nothing. You owe $100. No, I don't. You agreed that if you speed, you're going to pay the $100. No, I didn't. There was no assignment of authority. No, I didn't. Does he get the $100? Nope. No can do. Take out the judge. So there's an assignment of authority now, and you got people to command, but nobody to accept the authority. Does he get the $100? No. And you got an assignment of authority. You got somebody to accept the authority, but you got nobody to command. Doesn't work. You got to have all three. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Preposition, article, noun. 1, 2, 3. Sounds like a trinity. Have you seen a trinity before? Preposition, article, noun. Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Legislative, judicial, executive, judicial. Aum, creator, preserver, destroyer. It was an ancient word for God in the old Hindu days. It was so sacred they wouldn't even say that word. Au. What's the abbreviation for gold? What's the best definition I've ever heard for God? God, G-O-D, generator, operator, destroyer. And the destroying isn't negative. The tree grows, it drops to the ground and turns and comes back up again. It's recycling. It's the way it works. Always you have this. How well would this system work, any one of these, if you took out any one of the three? You've got a judicial, legislative, who is the creating mind of the law, and you got the executive administering it, but you got nobody to judicially harmonize to make sure it's balanced. Take out you take out the executive, now you got somebody there to make sure it's harmonized, and you got a creator, but you got nobody to administer the thing. Trinity, preposition, article, noun, works exactly the same way. Father, Son, Holy Ghost, legislative, executive, judicial. Creator, preserver, destroyer. Preposition, article, noun. Take any one of these three, and now these aren't all the favorites of prepositions, but I want to show you that there are many of them. But you go any way across, and this will be a noun, no matter which two of these you utilize. If I went by the people, for a nation, of an article, with any document in all constitutions, per that letter, without this offer, under those acts, over them now, against his land, at her location. Now, I don't recommend that you use these words here in your contracts, but I'm just showing you as an analogy here. Now, crisscross it anyway. Under all constitutions, or of this offer, before the people, or for them now, at that location, with a letter against the people. Any which way you go, this becomes a noun. Preposition, assignment of authority. The article accepts the authority and commands the noun to be. You create your nouns. What happens if you take one of them out? What happens when you use a preposition without an article to accept the authority? As an example, for the people versus for people. Of the people versus of people. By the people versus by people. When I take out the article to accept the command, what happens? From is a preposition, past tense preposition. But notice how the word from, as just as an analogy to help you kind of think around it. If I said to you, 4 from 8 equals 4. Is that correct? 4 from 8 equals 4? You kind of going, okay, yeah, I can see how that works. You know, it's sort of creating this sort of a negative here. The idea here is not to be exact, because it's really what it's doing is making it a negative 4. If I said to you 4 plus 4 equals from 8, would that be true or false? It would be false, sure. Somehow, in this equation, as the from represents a negative in the above, in that example, it as a negative by the procedure alters the state of condition of a positive 8 to that of a negative 8. Now, I didn't just modify that 8 like an adjective would. I didn't just say that's a fat 8 or a black 8 or a light 8. You know, I didn't give it an adjective type quality. No, I altered its state of condition from that of a positive to exactly the opposite of what it just was, to a negative. It is now an absolute contradistinction between what it was. They are the antithesis of each other. Altered the state of condition, yin to yang, black to white, negative to positive. Absolutely antithesis. The preposition has the power to alter the state of condition of a word without an article. Show you. Be very leery of using those prepositions. 7 into 3. 7 into 21 equals 3. 4 plus 4 equals into 8. Into is a preposition. 10 over 2 equals 5. 4 plus 4 equals over 8. 10 by 10, 2 by 10 equals 20. 4 plus 4 equals by 8. Are any of these correct answers? Somehow, that preposition in there as an example has altered the stated condition of that answer to make it incorrect. Into, over, and by are all prepositions. Adverbs modify verbs and adjectives. An adverb cannot modify a noun by procedure. By the running. Now I know that we're getting away from ing words, but is there any other word that you can think of that identifies the activity of running in one word? Don't say to run. What about skiing? To ski. That's 2 words. Running in here, when I say preposition, article, noun, running now becomes the noun. Preposition, assignment of authority. The accepts the authority and points to the thing to be. Running now becomes a stated condition. It becomes the word in the dictionary that identifies the definition of the activity called running. By the procedure, the preposition by with the article thou is commanded running into being a noun. For the competitor is with the victorious by the running of the race. Running now become a noun here. For the driving of the cars with the knowledge of the driver. The driving now became the noun. Running and driving are nouns because of the prepositional phrase before them. Failing in the utilization of the article the after the word by converts the word by into an adverb. Adverbs modify verbs, changing the stated condition of running into that of a verb. By running, adverb verb. Now the running is a verb. Fiction alert. Parliament of Canada. Of is a preposition. Is there an assignment of authority through the preposition? Yes. Is there an article to accept the authority to command the noun to be? No. Legislative, judicial, executive. Something's missing. The executive is gone. Father, Son, the Holy Ghost. Sorry, the Son's gone. You got a Parliament of Canada. Of became the adverb, making Canada the verb. Of's the adverb. Education's the verb. Adverb, verb, adverb. Oh, gee whiz, eh? Bank of Canada. That's a shame to see that being turned to Canada into a verb. They want a return of income. My goodness. They want a verb income. Jeez, and I thought they wanted substance from me. I thought they wanted a bill, cash. Look at we'll go into a little bit of the Charter Rights in a second. It says, recognizes the supremacy of God and the rule of law. The of God, turning God into a verb. God's a noun. In its highest position, God's a noun. Commander-in-Chief. Thing about this one, the old Adrian Clarkson, right? Commander-in-Chief. However, I just got to get these overheads out so I can draw here. Watch how they write Commander-in-Chief. I didn't do it correctly up there, so I can make this point here now. Do you see how they write Commander-in-Chief? You ever seen how they... Oh, shit. Shoot. Have you ever seen Editor-in-Chief? See how the editor maintains his name? Well, great. Isn't that what they do? Commander-in-Chief, and they go ahead and hyphenate between these, creating this as a compound word. Editor-in-Chief. The heck, the editor-in-chief? What a silly editor that would be, who would go ahead and identify himself as a verb. So they went ahead and they put hyphens in between there to maintain it as a noun, providing that you had a prepositional phrase before it. For the commander-in-chief is now a compound noun. In prescribed form. That's what they want you to file. In's the adverb making prescribed the past tense verb. By notice served. By notice served. The minister may, by notice served personally, require any person to provide within such reasonable time. By notice. By is an adverb making the note as the verb. Gee whiz, I thought they were supposed to give you a piece of paper. Now that you got a piece of paper from in their hand, where did they get the authority to do that? They only had the authority to send you a verb. They didn't have authority to send you any substance. That's not real. That now is a verb. Well, I got a piece of paper in the mail. Gee, that looks like a noun to me. I'm holding it in my hand. I got paper here. It's real. Where did you get the authority to do that? They had no authority to send me a noun. They only had the authority to hammer out a verb. Lawyers are licensed at law and in law. At's a preposition, so now you have an adverb, verb. Constitution. What's everybody been arguing about with the Constitution and taxes, right? The government has the power for the raising of money by any system or mode of taxation. What have we been arguing for the last 100 years? Hey, direct taxation is not within a system or mode. You don't have the authority. It was enumerated to the provinces for direct taxation for provincial purposes only. And we've been yakking about the back end of the statement and never looked to the front end. They only have the right for the raising of money. In this particular case, it's a verb, money. Therefore, they certainly have no right to substance, gold and silver now, do they? What about cash? Is that substance? It's a promise to pay. This note is legal tender. It's simply a promise based on the cashing of a future bond. So therefore it has no present tense value. It certainly is closer to a verb than it is substance. Bottom line is they only have the right to the raising of a verb, so certainly if you had gold and silver they could lay no claim on it because they only have a right to fiction. They don't have a right to substance.
Can I just make a point here?
Certainly.
Pay attention to the bottles of Pepsi-Cola and Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
You notice that one's got a full colon in between and the other one's
Got the hyphen. I haven't seen the full colon on the Pepsi yet. Have you seen it yourself with your own eyes? Okay, yeah, I've heard this. They say part too. I haven't seen it yet. Just looking forward to seeing it, and I can say, hey, and I'll make up. Is it on that bottle? I checked their website out and thought maybe they changed the corporate logo on their website, and it hadn't occurred yet. But I look forward to that one. There you go. That's getting closer, isn't it? So, have you ever seen this before? Government of Canada, Gouvernement du Canada, huh? Have you seen that before? On every building that's owned by them. What's wrong with the above? The word do is a prepositional phrase. Do is a contraction of a prepositional phrase. Do means of the. So in French they went ahead and they got Government of the Canada. In English they went and translated when Government of Canada, and in English they went and made the of as the adverb, making Canada the verb. So in the French language, Canada is with the noun. In the English language, Canada is with the verb. Fiction, there's no such a thing as a verb Canada. By a procedure of the English language, Canada is converted into a verb. Always use the article, a, an, or any, or all. Always use an article after a preposition for the acceptance of the assignment of the authority, otherwise you're a modifier. But isn't that interesting? Wonder why it is we got guys like Chrétien in there and Trudeau. Why do we got all these French men all the time in there? Maybe their law, their words is a little tighter than ours, huh? What about the new agency, CCRA? Customs and Revenue, Canada Customs and Revenue Agency versus Agency des Douanes et du Revenu de Canada. Tail of the tape. Let's have some fun here. 5 words used in English. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. French. Let's bring this down just a little bit. What about French? You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 words used in French in the title, and only 5 used in English. What's going on here? In English, we've got 0 prepositional phrases for the introduction of the noun, and in French, they have 3 prepositional phrases in the title. Look at that. 1 there, and 1 there. In English, we have 0 contracted prepositional phrases to expand, whereas in French, they have 3 contracted prepositional phrases. All of them mean of the. So if you count it up, you now have 11 words. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 words. Isn't that interesting? In the English, Canada is the adjective, customs becomes a modified noun, and is the conjunction, revenues becomes the adjective, and agency becomes the modified noun. Whereas in French, Canada is the noun because it has an of the prepositional phrase in front of it. Douanes or customs is a noun because it says of the customs. Revenue is a noun because it says of the revenue. And agency is a noun, or at least a soft noun. It hasn't been modified. It could be a pronoun, but it's closer to a pronoun than anything else. But in French, it reads, agency of the customs and of the revenue of the Canada. All nouns are facts. In English, we have an adjective fiction, Canada modifying the noun customs, and an adjective fiction, revenue modifying the noun agency. Fiction alert. Wake up. I found that to be quite interesting.
This is going to be tough to sell to the judge.
Now, when you contract with them, all you got to do is say, Your Honor, would you agree with me that all nouns represent substance, and that with the lack of nouns on documents, the lack of substance? Yea or nay? White man, white hyphen man. Do you see the difference in this? I don't see what you're talking about. Well, then you lack knowledge, and you're no place to make judgments if you can't see a difference, let alone think. That's what judges do, isn't it? They distinguished what's different in the case to find out which way to go. That's what judgment is. You lack the ability to judge. Well, this is... we'll talk about that a bit later. That's it. No, we'll talk about the theory of how to capture the court, and when I meet with David in May, that's exactly what we're going to discuss finalizing in Canada, because I'm going to go ahead and give it a whirl. See what happens. Yeah, take a good look. You may not see me for a while. Starchy foods and pink pajamas. What's that? Yeah.
Being a wrestler might be to your advantage.
Maybe. The minister. The minister. Pretend that I am the minister for a moment, if you will, and that this is a wonderful color photograph of me, just taken an hour ago. And it's up there. And I ask you, other than the procedure up there, which one is the minister? Is it this one? Is it this one? Or is it both? Or is it neither? Which one is the minister? Hey, Your Honor, which one's the minister? A nice picture and the words, the minister. Which one is? Which one, guys? Is this one? How many think this? What about that one? No? Why? Can you perfect answer. Exactly. They're both representations. I'm the minister. I'm up here. Take a look. Do you see me now? That's not me. That's a representation. That's why, as I say, if you end up in court and the judge says to you when you're there without a lawyer, are you representing yourself? No, I am not a representation of myself. I am myself. Do you recognize me? Yeah. The cop holds your driver's license up and says, is this you? No. It's a very nice likeness of me. It's a nice representation. I thought I took a good picture, but hey, I'm up here. You see me? If I say yes to that, I give flesh to the fiction. Not about to do that. Now, thaw is an interesting word. I studied it for about 3 months after Miller did a seminar, and I thought I got to go check it out. The is a demonstrative adjective, as they call it, the name, which is the name of the definite article. Did you know that the word the is translated English translation for the Greek word God? Oh, that's such a common word, la, or the, and it turns out to be the English translation for the Greek word God. And it wasn't just any God, this was the God, the one above and the one on earth, and my hand in this pen and everywhere, in heaven and on earth and everything. It was the one God, which I found that to be kind of interesting when I consider they call it the definite article. If we're to agree that there's such a thing as an article at all, then certainly the is the one. Somebody said to me, the cannot be a verb. The adverb is an interesting one, but they said the cannot be a verb. I went, really? You know what a syllogism is? You know, the it's a sort of a minor and a major major premise. If you agree to those two premises, then the logical conclusion, they're not always bang on. But one, you know, Plato is a man is the example in your dictionary. Plato's a man, men are mortal, Plato is mortal. I'm a man, you agree? Hey, now you agree to that? I am mortal, you agree? Therefore I am immortal. Plato's a man, men are mortal, Plato's immortal. Are mortal. It doesn't always hold true, because I can say that elephants have trunks. I have a trunk in my attic. There's an elephant in my attic. Right? But so they're not always true. But here's an example of one for you. Ism. The word ism. Gee, that's a small one. Hang on. I got a bigger one in my pocket here. Stay. Isms. Ism is defined, makes action nouns from verbs. You got barbarism, plagiarism. You have theism. Theism. Theism equals is a noun. Get it? Here's premise number one. Isms makes action nouns from verbs. Theism is the noun. So what was the verb that was converted into the action? Here. I told that to Dave Miller. He got a good chuckle. Theism. Ism makes action nouns from verbs. Theism is the noun. And when you take the off, the only thing left was the, and therefore the becomes the verb. So I'm not quite sure that you can't say that the can't be a verb. When you consider that the word the itself, it was an English translation of the word God, and therefore God is and it was all things above and below and everything, then it's pretty hard to say that he can't be a verb also. Because, I mean, actually verbs itself would be a delegation of all, and therefore, so it did kind of hold some water that that's potentially possible, but nonetheless, whenever you use the word the in the comparison, as we have here, we've agreed that this is not the minister to the left, nor is it to the right, that both of those are nothing more than examples or representations, as you very well pointed out back there. Whenever you use the in the comparison, because that isn't me, the in the comparison becomes the adverb. It's in the dictionary. Adverbs modify verbs. So when I say the minister, it of course is not the minister, because I'm the minister. I'm up here. Well, that's just a comparison to, and therefore the was used in the comparative and converts into an adverb. Furthermore, there is no assignment of authority for thinking by way of a preposition before it. So no authority for thinking, no reference point to hold it still. It's in motion. It's a verb. Now you got the Constitution. The now becomes the adverb because it's just simply a comparison. And there's no assignment of authority for a preposition. The Income Tax Act, adverb, verb, adjective, noun. The taxpayer. The Department of National Revenue, adverb, verb, adverb, verb. Revenue's a noun, converts this into an adjective. Now you got a verb and an adjective sitting in one word. Two ideas in one word. Do you have full disclosure? 4 plus 4 divided by 4 equals both 5. Yay. Today I'm going to swing left and tomorrow I'll swing right on that one. Whenever you use the in the comparative, it becomes the adverb. All pronouns in use without a preposition, an immediate antecedent or before position, is with the use of the pronoun as an adverb. Adverbs modify verbs. And this is the one that Dave points out very hard. This trust. You know, if you're going to go ahead and say, and this is what Revenue Canada has been doing so far without going into these procedures, as we know I.R.S. is doing. But Revenue Canada, one of their little games is if you have a little offshore trust and it's hiding away and they find it, now they found a pool of cash and they got to find out who owns it. Because if nobody claims it, of course, then they're just going to take it. And so now you're in this kind of position. Do you say, yes, that's mine, by showing the paperwork and of which you've been hiding all these years? So you're not sure if you really want to tell them, because you're not quite sure. Geez, have I been signing that tax return and telling them about that interest? Or, I don't know. Anyway, this is a bit of a tough question. Should I tell them it's mine? But if you're going to tell them it's yours, you're going to pull out a contract or an agreement that says it's yours. Right? If you want to keep it, because if you don't, they're going to take it, because it's sort of like salvage. They're just going to pick up what's floating on the sea. And it starts off with the word this trust or this agreement, this contract, this non-circumvention agreement. What does the word this mean to you if you don't read the next word? Nothing. Every word in a contract has to disclose something. What does the word this disclose to you? Until you read the next word, it means absolutely goose egg. This. Yes. Come on. Need more information. If you start off a sentence with the word this, it becomes the adverb. The adverbs modify the verb, turning trust, agreements, contract, non-circumvention. Of course, is a verb. License, certification, diplomas, transcript, court order, whatever. You start off with the word this, and then whatever follows, it's going to be a verb. And nothing like pulling out your $150,000 trust to pretend you got offshore, and the Revenue Canada takes a peek at it, and the very first thing it says is this trust. Well, trust is a noun, but in here you've used it as a verb, and therefore you have no substance on the contract to protect this trust. It doesn't exist. You made it a fiction. Hoover time. Gone. How do you protect substance with a verb? The only thing that identifies substance is a noun. The moment you use a verb, it's gone. You have no protection for the subject matter because you have no subject matter in the contract to protect. It's just a blank piece of paper. Join and joinder. Black's Law, join, to unite, to come together, to combine or unite in time. Unite in time. To and shall. You've been through here before. This is one of the easier ones to explain. To and shall are for the assignment of the authority into the future for the no jurisdiction in the present tense. And I know that this creates a negative, but part of understanding what truth is being able to identify what fiction looks like. Didn't Satan say that I will build a castle as tall as yours? I think he... It's right there. Right there in the mirror. Well, look in the mirror. What do you see? It's as tall as me, isn't it? Geez, I don't think it's even a hair lower or a hair taller. It's just like bang on. Except I'm substance, and this is form. This is fiction, and this is real. And that's the difference. But how do you express that without somehow to identify? Would you recognize truth if you saw it? Tough question, isn't it? Some of the documents I've seen going to the government in the truth language, and I want the law in the truth, and they write back saying, I don't know what the hell you mean. What do you want? What do you mean in the truth? What does that mean? Will you recognize it if you see it? Part of recognizing the truth is being able to identify the fiction and say, well, I know that I'm not that. And getting yourself closer to what you think is the truth. Do you think that you are truth? Yes or no? Inside, do you think you're truth? So do I. So if I think I'm truth and you think you're truth, we have to admit that there's no more than just one truth. And if there's more than one truth, then why stop at two? And now that we're not going to stop at two, why stop at an infinity? And now that we have so many shades of truth, how do you know it when you see it? It becomes very subjective to the perceiver. Half of it is recognizing the fiction. So you go ahead and assign it into the future. You know darn well that the future has no jurisdiction in the present, don't you? To and shall. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to walk. When are you? I'm going to walk. I'm going to walk. When? When? To. I'm going to. I'm walking. As soon as I say to, I'm never going to do it until I'm up and doing it. To always assigns it into the future, right? Does the to ever speak to you now? Ever. Does shall ever speak to you now? You shall walk. When? I shall. When? I shall. When? Now. Now that I'm walking, do I use the word shall any longer? No. Always assigns the authority into the future. Gone. Does the future have joinder with the present? Does it? Does the future, does me now, shake hands with the future? Sci-fi. Is that possible? Not in this plane, 3D world, as we know it. If you can't have joinder, If the future does not have joinder in the present, then can you have jurisdiction in the present if you don't have joinder in the present? If you have no joinder in the present, you can't have jurisdiction in the present. And one of the objections that I'll tell you about it later, but I wrote an objection for a lady out of Toronto, and the truth, she had a $750,000 assessment, and I wrote her up an objection. It took me 3 months to write it. And in there it said the minister may at any time. So the minister may. The may was for the assignment of the exercising of the authority into the future. And therefore he never had joinder in the present, thus never had jurisdiction in the present for the making of an assessment. So therefore any assessments that you do now are with the color of the office and color of the law, because you don't have jurisdiction now to do it. And as Dave has pointed out very clearly, this trust allows the trustee to pay all debts of the trust. This is the adverb making trust the verb, allows is a verb. The became the adverb, trustee is now the verb. To is a future tense adverb making pay the verb. What happened here? To pay. Notice there's no noun up there at all. Number 4 is a noun on your key card there. You will note that there's no substance in the sentence to the sentence, as there is no noun presented. Is there no noun presented or subject matter substance? To the trust, there's no protection for the subject matter. But here's where they're getting them real bad, and the I.R.S. is doing right now, according to David. It's because the to assigns the authority for the making of the payment into the future. Therefore, when the verb trustee writes a check in the present tense, the trustee is embezzling from the trust. He never had present tense jurisdiction today to write a check. He has the authority to pay, but that's tomorrow. Tomorrow comes, he reads it again, it says, you may, you can, to pay, and to pay, and to pay, until his hair falls out and he has to buy a rug. And what happens if he has no authority in the present to write a check? He's embezzled. And as he's embezzled is a criminal offense, the trustee loses his standing, known as locus standi, in court to defend the trust. You cannot go to court with dirty hands and seek remedy. It's called locus standi. You have no standing. You must have standing and merit. If you walk in there with dirty hands and an I.R.S. pulls out a trust and has forensic evidence, the trust says you have the authority to pay all debts, they pull out the checks that you've been writing, forensic evidence of the embezzlement, your hands are filthy dirty, you have no right to go and defend the trust. It's gone. Hoover time. Can you defend the trust if you, as a trustee, have committed a crime? Nope. Can do. Not until you understand how the not fundamentally illegal works, then maybe you might. I'll explain that one later if you have time, if you wish. What about the suffix ed? Ed. By definition, forming past tense. Does the past tense have joinder with the present tense? So if I assign the authority into the past tense, do I have jurisdiction in the present tense? Now, I won't call the past tense exactly a fiction. I certainly will the future, because we can't say what's going to really go on currently technologies. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow morning. But I can tell you what happened yesterday morning. There seems to be a big record there. So I'm not going to call past the fiction. I'll just say that the past is other than the present. And if I assign my jurisdiction to some time other than the present, I don't have joinder in the present, now do I? So I don't call the past fiction, I just say it's other than present. Random House Dictionary defines the word, well, here we go, by the way. You shall file in prescribed form. The prescribed became a past tense modifier adjective of the noun form. You shall be filed. How do you be filed? I sat down with a school teacher in Calgary about a month back or so, and she pulled out her little certificate that allowed her to be a teacher. And it said the teachers' associations, or the teachers of the association, are required to practice. And I said, isn't that neat? You're required in the past to practice in the future, but never in the present. And her 15-year-old son caught it like now. He started to laugh. Laughing is a defense mechanism sometimes. He laughed. Oh, he just grokked. He caught it like right now. It's beautiful. Minister is required for purposes related to the administration and enforcement. Related, past tense. to the administration future tense, but never speaking to the present. Just the tenses alone guts half the law right now, because it's all written in past and future, but never in present tense. But they'll tell you in the law that the law is always speaking when it speaks to the present. Have a look at it. You'll see when it defines in the present, it's always speaking, but it never speaks to the present, therefore it is never speaking. Have a look in the Interpretations Act under law always speaking. Thought is the product of mental activity, a single act or product of thinking, a single act. And as David has explained very well, 1/2 plus 1/3 plus 1/6. Calculate this equation, can you? Yes, sir? Correct. How did you come to 1?
Well, add that up, then change the thought.
Exactly. So before you can do it, you have to change the condition to come up with the correct answer. And the condition was you had to come up with the least or lowest common denominator, correct? When you did that. What if you have a sentence that has 3 denominators on it? You've got a sentence that sits in the past, in the future, or even in the present, all 3 of them on one sentence. How is it that you can have a thought about what it's saying when it has 3 denominators on it? How do you form a single thought about something that has 3 denominators? Can't. You're in fiction if you think you can. How do you play 3D chess right now in 3 dimensions? In order to perform the calculation, you require the least or lowest common denominator. With the least or lowest common denominator, you cannot perform the calculation. To produce the correct answer, you must require the correct condition to do so. That condition requires the least common denominator so that you can form the single thought. Every thought you have at any one time is a single thought in the eternal now. One thought after the other, single. Right now, at any one point is always something single happening. One stacked up on top of the other. Failing that, you'll produce the incorrect answer as you do not have the correct condition to produce the correct answer. How can you come up with the correct answer when you don't have the correct condition to do so? And this is one of the very interesting theories that I ran by Dave, that I had come up with, and it goes sort of like this. I'm Philippe Marcel Antoine Naudi. I live in Port Coquitlam, Podunk Poco, I call it. I know this. So they should know. Because if I know, and I'm not the intelligentsia of Canada with an unlimited budget, sure as heck they should know. Either way, they're doomed. They either failed in the acquirement of the available knowledge, or they've simply failed to utilize the available knowledge. Either way, it's a negligence. And your failure to obtain and acquire the available knowledge has manifested a condition that which promoted or provided the error. And the error is a perversion of fact or law. And that's negligence. You failed in your acquirement, your attainment, or your use. I don't care which way it goes. I know it. You should know it. I've been doing seminars. David's patented the darn thing. He put it into the matrix March 98th. The bug knows. It's in the system. Their failing to use that information created a condition. That condition manifested the error. The error is a perversion of fact or law. And that's negligence. I love it. A sentence that provides for a multiple time tense is lacking the least common denominator to produce the correct answer. A simple question deserves a simple answer. A complex question deserves a complex answer. Keep your sentences simple. Put them in the present tense only. All things exist in the present. What is the opposite of past? Future. What's the opposite of future? Past. What's the opposite of the present? Truth spins on itself. Always be in the present. The box. Everybody knows the box. Who here doesn't know the box? Okay, so let's not go through the box. Good. other than to show you some boxes. Let's show you some boxes. Gee, that's a nice one. Your tax return is due. Does everybody understand the rule of boxing in four corner? Anybody not? So that you. Oh, okay, there's some guys who don't. Okay. Well, square brackets, by definition, a square bracket removes anything contained in there is interpolated in explanatory matter only and forms no part of the document of which it's inserted upon. You'll find that in a dictionary. Go look up the word box, Oxford Concise Dictionary. The word box means to create a separate compartment, to create an inner space within a space, a state within a state. When you create a separate compartment, by definition now you have created and you have disjoined or disconnected or divided that which is in the separate box or from that which is outside. When you play hockey and you break the rules, where do you go? Penalty box. And what happens when you're in the box? You are removed from the game. Hey, you've been bad. When you break the law, where do they put you? Box. You're removed from society. Everything in the box is removed. Under the rules of four corner and Black's Law Fourth, everything in the box must be considered separate from anything outside the box. That's right. That's where the jury sits. That's why the jury can neither hear nor see the evidence. And I was just in Regina 2-3 weeks ago, and a fellow was telling me about a case where the jury came with a not guilty plea, and the judge said no, guilty, and overrode the jury. And as exactly why, because the jury can neither hear nor see the evidence. And furthermore, you do not have joinder with the jury. Your feet are on this floor, and the jury's feet are 1 foot above you. You are not on a level playing field in the court. They don't. The judge is the highest of all in that courtroom. He's got the highest pulpit. He has no joinder with the jury, the witness, the criminal, or you on the common plane. He's above all. That's why he's up there. You're getting knowledge now, aren't you? All of a sudden you're starting to realize that this court is an illusion. You think you're getting justice, and you are getting just ice. You're going to be put on the cold slab soon. Well, look at this. This is a demand to file a tax return. That we have not received the income tax return for your taxation year indicated above. In accordance with Section 152 of the Income Tax Act, you are required to file the return within 30 days of this demand. Better call Bruce. I'm getting in a real panic. 30 days from when? There's no date. They went ahead and put the date and your SIN number or account number in a box. I mean, I can understand why a computer needs a box to place a date. I mean, otherwise it just wouldn't be able to find it. Yeah, that's a real freaky one, eh? Get on that one straight away. I'm going to get that in. What about this one? I took one for the team the other day, kids. I got a ticket. I just scratched my name off my address this morning because I went and showed this up yesterday in Abbotsford, and the guy looks at it and goes, "My grandmother used to live at that house." Okay, I'm taking it off. I don't want grandma's mail. This is kind of funny. I'll tell you a story about this before I get into the box. So after the cop gave me the ticket, I said to him, anything more? No, before he gave me the ticket, I said, is there anything else you're going to give me? Any lights in the back of my car? Anything not working? You know, are we finished business here other than this ticket? And he goes, yeah. And I'm kneeling down in front of him. He's got his car door open. It's a sunny day, and I'm hamming up this RCMP guy. And he's got the computer digitally uplink. And I said, well, my name, you might find something on there. I'm a bit of a rebel. You know, I don't like taxes, and I fight and that kind of stuff. You know, come talk to me. I'll help you get a break, you know. And he shows me my little rap list. We just had a couple of other parking tickets in there. No big deal. And I said, anything else? And he goes, no. I says, okay, well, here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go ahead and put a box here. And I'm going to put my signature or my autograph within the box so my signature doesn't have joinder with anything else on the ticket. Okay, I want you to know that in full disclosure and good faith. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and copyright this ticket and make it mine. So that if you guys try to sue me on this ticket and make a photocopy of it and enter it into court, then you photocopy copyright material for the purposes of making a profit, because after all, you want $173 from me. And now you've got infringement of copyright. Then I said, and by the way, take that radar gun, and I want you to put the radar gun in the trunk, because I'm going to subpoena the gun into court, and I want it to be exactly the same condition that it's in right now. He says, I can't do that. Then make a note on that digitally uplink computer of yours that I requested that you take the gun down, and you said you can't do that. Would you make a note of that for me, please? He says, I can't do that either. Then make a mental note that I asked you to make a note on the computer, and further that you refuse that, and I asked you to put it in your trunk, and you refuse that too. Make a mental note in that. Remember that, because I'm going to ask you that in court under testimony, okay? Have a nice day. So, violation ticket, adjective, noun. But this is the BC. Look at this. Corporation is the uniting of the many elements into the one. Money, sovereignty, a number, and two signatures. Cop signature. Mine's not there. Sovereignty, incorporation number, and money. Right? Look at this though. Look at the violation. It's in a box. Look at who I am. It's in a box. Material evidence is gone. But look at the money. They didn't snap it off on the end, did they? Anybody here into graphic designs? Is that very symmetrical? Would you leave it like that? Does that not an expression of intent or what? Absolutely. Well, you got the cash sitting out there wide open, joined her with the cop signature, which is not boxed, joined her with your signature, which is not boxed. Did you notice the cop went and put his initial there, his X there? You know, you're not supposed to do that. You know why? An X is like a signature. If you go to John Deere Financing, stop doing this. John Deere Financing, when they're writing up deals, one of their finance guy would say, hand over the document and say, sign here, put an X there, and he became the co-signer. Yeah, baby. Huh? That's right. Well, you're the one who's about to sign. Yeah, go ahead. No, I was going leapfrogging the guy behind you there. No, we're looking for it, but it would make for a hell of an argument. Yeah, me too. John Deere Finance is the one who got tried on it. So look into that. Look and see if we can find that. I just heard about 3 weeks ago from Tim Madden. So here the cop went and put an X there, and my name is removed. Jolly day. Think about that. Well then, there, Mr. Policeman, it seems to me that only your signature's on here. I guess you owe the $173. Thank you very much.
But even if you don't sign the ticket, they still can prosecute.
Oh, well, yeah, but we'll go. Yeah, that's right. That's right. But then you got to go in there and argue all sorts of other things. No. Yeah.
They do that at the bank all the time.
Yes. Oh. Think about it. Go home and check out all your mortgage documents and default on the damn thing and call the bank in as the co-signer. You co-sign the damn thing, collect it from yourself. Oh no, hoot, eh? Okay. Judge Malcolm Wilkie, the U.S. Court of Appeals. One of my favorite quotations from Judge Malcolm Wilkie said that if 200 years ago men revolted on the principle that taxation without representation is tyranny, then today men may rise in righteous wrath as taxation with representation but beyond human comprehension is even worse. Now stop there. If they rose in tyranny, that taxation without representation was tyranny, and you're righteous wrath. Oh, you're some kind of hot guy now. That's with tax with representation, but beyond comprehension. We can definitely show that the Income Tax Act is beyond comprehension. But do we have representation? If you can rise in righteous wrath that with representation and beyond comprehension is worth, what is it without representation and beyond comprehension? Go vote. Go vote. Yeah.
I just noticed on this assessment here, on the British Columbia tax, the net British Columbia tax, the number that
Yeah, color differentiations are also boxes. But think about this one for a second. Go vote. Where do they want you to put the X? In the box. Oops, jeez. And what do they call it if the X kind of comes out a little? Hey, it's spoiled. There's a real vote there. Can't count that one. It came outside the damn box. If it's 180 degrees out of whack, you're right on the money. It's Alice in Wonderland through the looking glass. Not 190, not 300, 180 degrees from what you think it is, you are on the money. You're onto something good. So go ahead and put your X in the box, and don't forget when you do that, go and hide behind the curtain, because you don't want nobody to see who you vote for, right? Put your X in the box, then what do? Oh, you fold it up and put it in a box. You ever wonder why you can't get your hands around the throats of these people? They were never responsible to the constituency. There was never joinder in the vote, ever. Just to make sure that there is no joinder when you file for your voter's registration card, go ahead, vote. Yeah, give us your signature, please. Just to make sure. And then signature of voter, adverb, verb, and you put your signature inside. Sig, the root word sig, coming from to suggest, a suggested representation. And you put your suggested representation of you in here, double boxed it, thus removed, never had joinder with your name. You went ahead and voted, put your X in the box, folded up, dropped it in the box. You were 1, 2, ballot box 3, or X3, ballot box 4 steps removed from joinder. This is not a democracy. You won't have a voice. It just looks like it. Well, is that not an expression of intent? Or what? I mean, come on. Just in case you don't know where to put your name, we put a box for you. Well, yeah, I don't know. I haven't scanned it, but... So... is that right? You know, huh? Good.
The barcode identifies you. The copy and the three places there it's on the ballot, and it's also on the list. That's all I voted for that.
And what they did here in this particular one, the fellow who gave this, Michael, I just told him I'd take his name off of it. He's got it all capitalized, last name first, and then first and middle name, so nom de guerre. And then by signing below, I confirm that I am the person whose name and address appear below. So again, by signing, you give flesh to the fiction, or at least meat to it. I'm not sure that would really be true because you've been removed, but it's just interesting how they go ahead. Vern's talked about it earlier, giving up your sovereignty by contracting. You go ahead and you say, yeah, that's me, the dead person. That's me, the all-cap name. How about looking at, just for a moment, and then we'll just give you some ideas of what we've been doing. The Charter Rights and Freedoms. Ooh, I can't wait to use that as my defense. Whereas Canada is founded upon the principles that recognize the supremacy of God and the rule of law. Adverb, verb, verb, past tense, verb, adverb, verb, adverb, verb, adverb, verb, adverb, verb, conjunction, adverb, verb, adverb, verb. Yeah, lots of substance in that baby. You got a verb law and a verb rule and a verb God and a verb supremacy and a verb Canada. They call you into the docket. Hey, is that you, Mr. Corporation? All cap names. Yeah, it's me. Come on in, joinder and fiction. Have fun. And the judge is on a plane, overrules the jury box, whatever he wants. Fiction. The Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms gives us every person has the fundamental freedoms. Fundamental became the adjective of the freedoms. Freedom of conscience and religion, adverb, verb, or verb, adverb, verb, adverb, verb, all the way. There's no noun. Doesn't say anything. By procedure. Hey, thank you, Trudeau. He was no dummy. I mean, this is so lacking in prepositions, it's almost clunky in itself. You know, you might say, for the upon the supremacy of the God and with the rule of the law. and start giving it some foundation. But they took all prepositions out, I should say all the articles out. Well, how can you have the involvement of a thing without an article? Think about that. Article of clothing, an article in a clothes. An article itself is something. An article of clothing, example. How can you have the involvement of a thing without an article? No articles up there, and therefore nothing to accept the authority. So you got the verb Canada with the supremacy of a verb God and a verb rule and a verb law. And there's no substance, no protection.
Bruce, how do you get a verb out of God again?
How do I get a verb? How do I get? Well, it's. I just my thinking is, and this is just like open, forum here talking. So it just, we bounce ideas and we learn. I just thought, well, okay, if this particular the or the happened, and that's where the and it comes from, theo comes from, and then you got theology and then theism, and the or the was the translation for the Greek word God. And that particular God that was translated into thee happened to be the one God that was both in heaven and on earth and in everything. There's light in everything. And therefore, if that be so, then my thinking was, or is, that a verb is a notion. It's an idea. I mean, all words are nouns if you command them to be. The verb itself is the notion, it's the idea of moving into expressed. And if I am a son of God and I can come up with that idea, then a verb itself, and if that one God is everything, then it has to be everything, and inclusive of a verb. You can't say I'm this, I'm the all God, but I'm not that. I am is an adverb verb. Am is a verb. For I am is now, am becomes the noun. For is the preposition, the assignment of the thinking. Am I becomes the article that accepts the authority and points the am. And it was the Word, adverb verb, that moved among us. You need the Trinity. The Bible, adverb verb. All law comes from Scripture. And all Scripture was written in Sanskrit, verb. People didn't have knowledge. They wrote their laws from the Scripture. The intent was there, but the language was incorrect. And we wrote our laws in accordance to those Scriptures. The intent is there. I'm not trying to take away from the intent. Don't get me wrong. But it wasn't expressed correctly. They put it into verb. Well, yeah, exactly. It was, the intent was to express it in verb so that it never had foundation or substance to it. And, in God we trust. Adverb, verb, adverb, verb. There is no noun in God we trust. I is a pronoun. But if it's an undisclosed pronoun, it becomes an adverb. Because if I say I on a piece of paper, what is I represent? It's like this. It means nothing to you. You have to command it. Assignment of authority for the I. For I am. And I'm not sure that I'd ever write I in a contract anyway. I would never do that. I would identify myself as the contractor, the obligator, the objector, whatever. But I would never identify myself as I in a contract. But for thinking, if you believe in conscious thinking, that you manifest your realities in accordance to how you think and what you speak, the word off your tongue, the power of the sound, the all-seeing sound, the all-hearing sound versus the all-seeing eye. You think in that. If you're thinking in verb, you could very well be manifesting in the same, which is all fiction. So get tighter in your thinking. Ask your questions found in substance, and you ask and you shall receive. Ask and you will receive. Ask and you have received. Make it now. For I am. For I can. For I am. For I will. For I have. For I choose. For I love. For I create. For I enjoy. And now you're all in noun all the way up. So it's a little mantra that I do. So Sir Lawrence Loophole got charged for failing to file. We're going to go for about another 20 minutes. So he went ahead and did the right thing to do. He offered to pay $1,000 per count per charge, and he offered to give him the production of the certain information through the means of the filing of a T-1-general-tax-return. So here's what we did. He went ahead and, of course, we went and found a post office that still uses the rubber bullet stamp, is what they call it. Phone around and find out who uses the round stamp. Round, of course, means a continuance of evidence. Round is always in the truth. That's why the Masons hate round. They like square. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, Sonic. Yeah, very good. Very good point. So you use the round bullet stamp. And then what we did here is you go and get your registered mail. And when you register it, you stick it on the manila envelope on the outside, and of course you see that you have two pull tabs, right? One peels off, and then there's another one that peels off. So we took the one peel off, and I'll give you the last page first here. And we put the one peel off, and we put the peel off on the very back page under the word "for the acceptor." You'll notice who we called the acceptor. In this case, we identified on the envelope the acceptor as being, in this one, was Norm Pickett's, who's the Revenue Canada agent, and the other one went to the prosecutor. We called them of the acceptor. They accepted the mail, right? There was an acceptance, was there not?
Actually, as soon as that stamp is counted,
Yep.
it comes there from.
Yepper. So, what we did is a little game I came up with, and Miller's thinking about it as we speak. He's got this right now. I'm going to have a conference call with him this week. I came up with this little plan. I said, why not lay out that guy's signature, that guy in his signature location or autograph location, the barcode, so that when I mail it to them, and the person who accepts that piece of mail, and the postman there, what does he do when he has registered mail? He goes ahead and he pulls the second peel off, puts it on a clipboard, and has you sign beside it. So now this side, the acceptor's signature has joinder with this barcode number, which has joinder in with this signatory location, which has joinder on the first page with the registration number of the offer. Who knows where it'll go? I'm not sure yet. We're playing right now. Just playing. Initiating creative thinking. We got Miller gives us a gift from God in languaging. Let's get creative instead of going to him all the time saying, where do I go, where do I go? Here's what I've developed. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And then we expand. So I did this. And so, of course, doing as Dave said, now I'm going to have some controversy around this flag because, yeah, but it's in fiction. But I just love this idea here. I can really wrap my head around this. So I don't want to get into a big discussion about that. When we did this, of course, David says, get your flag and put it up. And so, okay, we did it. And we didn't put it in a box. The white field bled into the white paper, so it wasn't boxed. And then we got the poet William Glenn Canay, Sir Lawrence Loophole, went ahead and put his name across the stamp. And then we got them to put the rubber stamp, bullet stamp on it. We had to phone to find or post that still had that. They now, like these little Shoppers Drug Mart ones, they use a square stamp. And they go ba-dump right over the stamp and remove it from the paper. Slick. They're smart. They know what they're doing. So we found 3 post offices in the Vancouver and Harrison Agassiz area, way out about an hour and a half drive from Vancouver, an old little post office that still used the rubber stamp, the bullet round, which is the continuance of evidence. So, of course, when the prosecutor got it, he got the envelope, they signed his in there, accepting the offer, accepting the mail, engaging in commerce. Remember what happens with mail? General delivery. The postage stamp that you put on something is the payment for the stamp, for the moving of the mail from one general delivery to the other general delivery. It becomes free home delivery from the post office to your residence. And once you take that mail through your slot, you're deemed to have accepted it, but that's when you have accepted the benefit from the state right there. You're in the game. It was very sneaky. That's how they hooked us all in. Free home delivery was not a benefit. It was a benefit. But now that you've accepted the benefit, you owe a duty to the state. Try taking the numbers off your house and see what happens. You can take the numbers off, lock up your box, and go down and open up a general delivery. You can't pay for it because if you pay for the service, you've engaged in commerce. So you have to call yourself a transient. And after a while, they get mad at you. So, in the United States, if you're a transient, if it's okay. But in Canada, they got different rules. So he did exactly what Dave said. We went and mailed it. So when they opened up the manila envelope, it had to go for the attention of the Norm Pickets of the acceptor, and we went ahead and made an offer.
How did you get the stamp or that stamp?
It's a $1 loony stamp. It's a loony. Well, hell, I mean, it's a loony on it. At least they're consistent. Concerning trying to make it a little less clunky, because I'm not contracting specifically with the court here. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm able to communicate with this bureaucrat without them saying I can't understand it. So I loosened it up a bit. This is a preposition, by the way. Concerning the letter by the hand delivery by the Norm Pickets on the behalf of the Minister of National Revenue Canada with the date. For the letter of concern is with the alleged requirement for the production of certain information through the means of the filing of a T1 General Income Tax return by the William Glenn Kenney. So we made an offer. For the offer with the knowledge is with the incorporation or making of a voluntary offer for the production of the certain information through the means of the filing of a T-General hyphenated in the fact upon the establishment upon the satisfaction of the strict conditions in the following by the acceptor. We wanted them to provide us something back. Dave's always said, you're not a tax protester. I want to pay my tax. I want to pay it in the truth. I want to pay it in the fact. So show me the law and I'll do it. Well, he says, what do? You just think that or you actually activate it? So we activate it. Let's go and do it. Let's offer. So you can never say that we didn't offer. He's got for the voluntary offer right there. We're voluntarily making an offer to give you what you want. I'm not a protester. Heck. Hard to say that with a straight face, but it's true. For the offer with the knowledge is with the incorporation voluntary offer for the tendering of the payment in the sum of the 1,000, whatever you want to call those. I didn't put anything more. I didn't identify it with anything more than the icon. For the each count with the charge upon the satisfaction of the strict conditions in the following by the acceptor. And there he goes. We went ahead and also offered, so he offered to pay and he offered to file. This is months in advance of any court dates. He's offered now. Because when he goes to court, hey, I don't even know why I'm here. I tried to settle out, save 17 grand a day in taxes to pay for this court. I tried to settle out of court 2 months ago. What does he want? It's not unreasonable. We want for the return delivery of a true and authentic copy of the authorization and the utilization by the fact norm from the fact Revenue Canada in the fact, in the truth, the noun, and the use of the noun in the present tense for the confirmation and affirmation of the capacity of the norm fact pickets of the fact Rev Canada for the Department of the National Highway Revenue of the Canada for the acting on the behalf of the minister. I want the authorization. Show me you have authorization to work for the noun. It's not unreasonable. How about, because I'm going to make a payment down here, how about providing me with the authentic copy of the particular sections of an act of the Parliament of the Canada, Legislature of the Province of the British Columbia, in the fact and the truth, the noun, the use of the noun, and the present tense of the confirmation of the terms of the payment mode, payment type, and payment funds. How do you want me to pay you? Just give me the terms of payment, and I'll pay. No problem. It's very difficult for them to tell me they don't understand what that says. It's not too clunky. It's got a half decent flow. If you take the time to read it, they'll get it. And of course, we want the authentic copy of the statute in the large income-tax act, because it's a full colon. It's an income tax of the act. Just like you, when you have on your name, you're John Smith of the Henry clan. You're one of the many. This is one of the many acts. I just want this one of the many acts. So I want the income-tax of the act, federal and provincial, and the fact and the truth. The noun and the use is the noun in the present tense, with the incorporation, which I'm going to get rid of this in soon, of all repeals, revisions, provisos, amendments, and bound as the one. Don't give me one broken up into 25 different years, because now there's that breakage in the continuance. Remember that? 2 plus 2 equal 4. Have you guys seen that on the tape? Haven't watched it? Does 2 plus 2 equal 4? Watch my fingers. You made a presumption. I was thinking 2. I was thinking, does 2 plus 2 equal 4? You presumed. I broke the continuance. Does 2 plus 2 equal 4? But if I go 2 plus 2 equal 4, I'm thinking FOR. You presumed I was thinking this, but I wasn't. Break the continuance. Same thing goes with the Income Tax Act. Don't bring it to me 1 year after the other, split up. Now there's a breakage in continuance. You want me to make a presumption that the repeals and modifications in this act have been correctly carried through to this next piece. Unless you bound it as one, there's a breakage in the continuance. And thus you're making presumption. So I want it bound as one in the large. It doesn't exist. By the way, we've also copyrighted this, of course. And last but not least, just to make sure we want it done within a certain time duration, because when you make a contract, what are you contracting? You're contracting for a performance, and you want the performance done within a specific time period. Hey, dig my ditch. Sure, when? Well, you got to say something, otherwise you just sit there forever. No hurry now, is there? Anytime, anytime, anytime. You gonna pay me now? Sure. Oh, wow, what a deal. Never get around to it. So, when you contract for the performance of something, but you also contract to have it done within a certain time. Therefore, you contract time. You're in the box into this quantum. You're contracting time. So be specific with time. So enunciate it very clearly, as we have. For the certain time for the performance of the return delivery of the certain consideration is with the essence. Time is with the essence. For the enunciation of the time duration is with the following sequence: 200303235959 period. For the year, month, day, hour, minute, and second. Bang on. I don't want it on or before. I want it within. Don't you give it to me on the line, because if you have, you're not within. You're too late. I want it within the certain time frame, with the following time duration was 200303235959 to 230405235959. Give it to us in this exact time package. Click. There's no ambiguity. And this kind of looks funny on them if you put a little tacit consent, silence is compliant for the failure of the obligation for the tendering of the certain consideration by the acceptors, the proof positive, the lack of the consideration with the possession. If you got it, give it. Heck, you're going to save 17 grand a day in tax court money. If you got it, give it. If you don't have it, then there's no obligation with me in the first place. So we went and did this. We haven't had a reply yet. I can't imagine. I did this in my wife's case. She was prosecuted for failing to provide documentation under the Income Tax Act under Section 231. If you've been to my seminars, you know that's one of my favorite sections. I just got it from a subject matter point of view. I offered 1 week before trial. I sent to all the Revenue Canada agents who touched the file, which are 4, and the 3 prosecutors who touched it. So I sent out 7 of these packages, and it was called For the Complaint. And I went ahead and I argued, bitched about all the language procedures, and gave them knowledge about these procedures. And then I made an offer in any event if they could provide me with the law and the fact. I went to court and I said, Your Honor, I don't know why I'm here. We offered. And I didn't contract with the court. We hadn't had that technology just quite nailed down yet. But the judge, the prosecutor says, it was unintelligible, Your Honor. You know what it was saying. I said, Your Honor, I can't help it if the prosecutor can't read or write simple English. It's all in present tense. And I said, Your Honor, I suggest you take that into the back room, give it a read. So he did. And he comes back and looks over the top of his glasses and says, we will not be discussing that paper at this time. And let me remind you, I'm doing your wife a favor to let you represent her. Step out of line and you're out of my court. Okay. I didn't want to leave her hanging there. So I said, okay. Halfway through the trial, the prosecutor comes around and says, well, about that document, well, what he was requesting, the Crown was under no obligation to provide in any case. Ooh, hey, You just said it was unintelligible. Now you were able to determine that not only what I was you could figure out what I requested, but furthermore it was so defined that you were able to say that you didn't have to give it to me in any event. Hey, you just misled the court about 20 minutes ago. Either you got it or you don't. Which one is it? Either way, you have knowledge, and everything you enter into court from this point forward, you're doing so with modified facts. Because it's going to up to the witness tendering evidence back to money. It's an offer acceptance tendering, charged on account. I mean, it's so money, it's disgusting. Well, halfway through that day, the judge takes us to the back room and says to the prosecutor, I don't know which way this is going to go, but it ain't looking very good for the department. Says, Mr. Riley, I don't know about you, but I find the Income Tax Act extremely confusing. The prosecutor goes, yeah, it's pretty cumbersome. He goes, but you, Mr. Nowdy, seem to have an excellent handle on it. Yeah, not too bad, Your Honor. And we went out there, hammered away the RevCan agent for another hour. 2 months later, got an application for mistrial. Prosecutor seeking mistrial. April 5th, he got his mistrial. Judge gave it to him. Had a gallery of 50 people staring him down, and he explained himself to the audience why he did it. I've been in this business for 26 years. Business? I mean, the clues are so obvious when you know what to listen for. And I just, we all sat back and Jesus.
One time in open court, if this is a commercial venue.
Oh, yeah.
And the judge says, of course it is, because I issue tickets and warrants here all the time.
Yeah, perfect, yeah. We're getting very close to the heartbeat. Yes, here comes the sword of truth. And so, he had his mistrial came through all right. And he's also have now since that, November 15th, between then and when we got the mistrial, he had since then made applications for retirement, the judge. So he's on the retirement list, and that was the last case, I believe, the last case for him to wrap up in his portfolio. I wonder why. Do you think that he has knowledge now? Because he got to read that paper. He took it in the back room and gave it a read. And the prosecutor, by the way, didn't dare give him a photocopy because it was copyright. I saw him hand him up the original that he got from me. Last June 14th, my wife got a request from Provincial Sales Tax, PST. They wanted $3,000 from her. And they wrote us a little letter saying, our records indicate that you owe $3,000. Section 102 of the Social Services Tax Act says the director has to pay. And this court case here states that the director can be liable for the funds of the corporation. Okay, so I wrote him up a letter, wrote in the truth. And I requested for your records in the fact for the establishment of the amount owing. And then I asked for the section -102 of the Social-Services-Tax Act in the fact, and asked for the court case in the fact. And furthermore, for the terms of the payment in the fact, because I'm making a voluntary payment to pay you the $29,000 upon receipt of these things. That was June 14th, 1999. I haven't heard one word. Not an invoice, not a letter, not a rebuttal, nothing. You got to know PST and BC is extremely aggressive. You owe money, they're on you like now. You're getting 3 and 4 letters a month, at least once a week with capitalized red ink screaming at you, pay. And they just hound you and bury you in paper. I've been there. And this just stopped them. I wrote an objection for a lady in Toronto in the Truth. I called it for the notice of the objection. 3 and a half weeks ago, we sent it out. She was assessed for 3 years of taxes, failing to file, and they assessed her. Her assessment came up to $750,000. So I wrote an objection, and the objection was based on language procedures. I've done this before, and they wrote back to me and said, your objection contains no facts or reason pursuant to the Act, and therefore it's invalid. Because I explained the language procedures, but this is a bureaucrat, remembering. They couldn't take the procedures and overlay it on the language to determine what it was doing. So Next time, I just simply said, here's what you're doing. For the use of the word the is with the use of the word the as the adverb, period. Next paragraph. For the use of the adverb is with the modification of the verb, period. For the minister, being the antecedent immediate next word after the adverb, the is with the verb. And just went on. For the use of the minister as the verb, simultaneously as the head noun fact of the department and as a verb is with the fiction in the English-language-dictionary. Explained it to them. The minister may at any time. For the use of the word may is for the assignment of the authority, for the exercising of the authority of the verb minister in at any time in the future. For the exercising of an assessment in the present is with the committing of a fraud by the color of the law and color of the office, and went on and explained. And therefore, and then in each time I did this, I said, and this is with the reason in the present for the disqualification of the assessment against the objector by the respondent. Drop it. And every time, this is the reason in the present, this is the reason, because they wanted fact and reason. So I gave them, here's the fact, and this is the reason. Here's the fact, and this is the reason. 20 pages of it. 2 weeks later, a week ago, I got a letter faxed to me from her saying, amount owing, 0. However, $750,000 is still in dispute, and interest will continue to calculate it if it turns out that the disputed amount is still owing. Somebody's got the laser on me, which is sort of an olive branch in a sense. Hey, you owe us 0, but if it turns out you do owe us, interest will continue to calculate on this. Now, understand that if we're going to use the truth language to take apart the obligating laws that they impose upon us, then we have to do the same to these letters that look like they're to our benefit. Oh, this looks good, and you get all happy about it, but hey, this says no more than the law in the first place, so we got to take that and correct it and send it back. And in any event, we're going to make an offer to pay them in the fact as well. So on one side, we got this saying amount owing, but in the event it's still owing, the interest will calculate, so what we'll do is circumvent that by making an offer on this side to pay the full amount upon the production of the law and the fact. Furthermore, what we did, because we are teachers, as David said, be a teacher, so I taught them, and every time I showed them the error, then I said, for the correction of the error is with the following, and I'd correct the error. For the abolishment of the verbs of futurity may. For the use of the preposition, for the creation of the phrase for the minister, and explain why. So at every point we corrected the error. So we gave them knowledge of what was incorrect or why it had no jurisdiction, and then furthermore, then we corrected the error. And it seemed to have, so far, the key here is they recognized it. They didn't write back and say, huh? It was unintelligible, or no facts or reasons. No, they recognized it. That's that. You're in now. You got the brass hook on them, right? So now you got a hook in them. All you need now, of course, to make it work is you need the pincher, so you can start to squeeze. Because it's not enough the hook, you got to squeeze. So that's why we got the digit. It makes us different. Otherwise, it's kind of numbing. So now we got the hook in them. Now we're going to offer and start to squeeze. So that should be pretty interesting. So that, I think, consider that was a quite a success in this early game of learning. What else have we been doing with this stuff? Oh, nah, I did that. Sure, Lawrence did that. After we had the mistrial, they went ahead and initiated requirements to provide documents against the company that just got the mistrial. And so I have 60 days to comply. If I don't give them the documents in 60 days, they're going to go ahead and reinitiate prosecution. So let's be proactive. Let's sue them into the truth before the compliance day evaporates. Let's go into the truth, contract with the court in the truth to provide the law and the fact for the establishment of the obligation in the first place. Let them go into default. Let them go nuts on it. So when the expiry date comes around, they cannot say that I did unlawfully fail to comply. No, I lawfully failed to comply. Sorry. You didn't provide me a law, and here's the default judgment you didn't show. So this was something I want to organize with Dave on May 6th. If anybody wants to see them, there's a few seats left, by the way. I have some brochures here. Dave Miller is coming to Bellingham, Northern Washington, May 6th and 7th for a 2-day seminar. It's $150 US. Sir Lawrence has been working very diligently with him to keep him on point, because like all of us, we like to start telling stories, and Dave's no exception. Before you know it, he's telling you how to weld something. So I'm not interested in welding. Okay, not today anyway. So what we've done is we said we'd hold back on questions and Q&As until the end of certain segments. He's going to spend the first 6 hours strictly on the language procedures, then he's going to spend the following 6 hours on court procedures, and then the next day we're going to go about 3 hours on contract procedure, and then another 3 hours on trust procedures, and it's over 2 days. So for $150, it's one hell of a deal. I definitely recommend getting down there if you can make it. I have some brochures, so I'll leave some up here. Sir Francis Wayne Fuga, his phone number's on it. I know that some guys, a lot of you already from Edmonton, are trying to get down there. I heard some of you guys might be organizing a charter bus, so if you call them, maybe that's already in place. I don't know. That's up to you guys to set it up. But let him know if you're interested and get them on to him right away, because we only have 70 tickets and they're going like hotcakes. Failing that, if you can't make it, I brought along some of my own kits that I made up going through this seminar. If you want to take it home, I have them back there. And in those kits are an offer to file and an offer to make payment in the truth, which we've been firing out. And so far, very little reaction. We haven't getting no's, we're not getting yeses, we're just sort of getting silence. So, which I think to some degree is a good word at this point as we learn more about these technologies. So I have those language kits here for you if you're interested in those. What else was there? That's it for now, I think. I'd like to say thank you guys for bringing me out, and thank you, Daniel, for this. I think this is phenomenal. All right.
Thank you very much, Bruce.
My pleasure.
Fantastic. I've got to ask, are there any doubting Thomases left in here? Is there fiction? Is there a world of fiction on one side, on the mirror, in the mirror? Yeah. Definitely. Is there a solution? Fantastic, a lot of them. And the language and the truth is probably the one that's going to solidify all this for us. One example of that is a lady in Edmonton, I believe. Natanya, yes. You are going to correct me if I make a mistake. But she had a $6,000 charge against her by Revenue Canada, and she used a promissory note written in the truth, and it's over and done with, right? So there you go. So that's the good news. We're seeing all of the possibilities. If we add the truth into it, we can expand it and go as far as we dare go with it. Now, I just have one example here before.
I can tell you about that story. I was there.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You want to hear about it? Yeah. Oh, okay. She had a $6,400 headache with Revenue Canada, and so. Oh, okay. Thanks. Oh, she had a $6,400 headache with RevCan, and so when I was out in Edmonton, she brought me up to do a little seminar for We the People, and I agreed to do that for her. And in that, she showed me her portfolio, and we went into this problem. And so we thought, okay, what are we going to do? Can we make an offer to file, offer to pay it in the truth? We have a couple of strategies we can do. We accept it for value, or do we make a payment, promissory note? And we said, well, $6,400, and Pat said, well, I have the cash. So, well, then this is a good opportunity to experiment. Let's do the promissory note. Because the idea of a promissory note, it's like writing a check. It's your check, it's your promise to pay. And it's an unconditional promise, which is the hitch on this thing. It cannot be with condition. I promise to pay you $6,400 on this date. You show up at this date, between these hours, at this location, I'll pay. Well, I went with her to Revenue Canada. We went down to the Edmonton office here, And she gave me the promissory note. I reviewed it. She said, "Is everything in order?" And I said, "Yes." Then the RevCan agent reaches across the desk to try and snap it out of my hands, and I went, "No, I'm sorry. This is not for my presentation to you. It's for Pat's." And they gave it back to her, and then she went ahead and presented it. Well, then she got a couple of phone calls, one of which it says, "Excuse me, but the location is not a bank." "That's right, it's an office. Come to my office." "But that's not a bank." "You guys are getting brighter by the minute." And then she gets another call a couple days later. "Are you going to do something silly like pay us in pesos?" Because she said, "Hey, my paper speaks for itself." We said, "Don't answer any questions. Just keep telling your paper speaks for itself, Pat." Because she made it out. I'll get to that in a minute. And so, and it only had an S with a single bar on it. So why the hell would they think we'd pay in pesos? I mean, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? We're gonna so they came over, and they had camera up in the corner, and the two guys come skulking in, and "Who are you?" "We're with Revenue Canada." And they walk in, and he's got his sunglasses out, and he's going click, click, click. "Well, we're just here to get the money, to pick up the check." And she goes, "Well, I told you it wouldn't be a check. It's going to be cash." "Well, we're here to get the cash." And she goes, "Well, just have a seat. First, we have a few things to discuss." No, we're just here to get the money. It can be fast, it can be quick, it can be long. It's up to you. We're just here to get it. "Well, we have a few things to discuss. I want to know if I can videotape this." And he goes, No videotape." And she goes, "Why?" "It's our policy." "Well, can I have a copy of it?" "Send it to us in writing. We'll be happy to give it to you," which is just BS. I guess when these guys go to the banks to cash checks, they walk along the walls because of the video cameras, I don't know. This is their policy, not to be taped. Yeah, sleeking. And when they saw the video camera, boom, that's it, we're gone, and they left. Two fatal errors. One is they did not negotiate the promissory note. They didn't present it and say, "Here it is for negotiation, now give us the money." Flaw number one. I can write a promissory note to you for $10 million on a $10 million debt, and you can look at me and say, "You don't have that cash." You can hold it and say, "He doesn't have it. I'm not going to show up. Forget it. I know he hasn't got the cash." Doesn't matter. You have to go through the throes of presenting to find out that it's going to be dishonored. Correct? Well, they didn't go through the throes to present it, number one. The cash was sitting on the table right there in view, number two. And had they presented it, then you got to understand who she made it out to. Because when you go to the bank, right, first of all, you don't go to the bank and say, "Hi, can I have $100? Sure, I got my check. Oh, I left it at home. Give me the $100, I'll be back in an hour." No, you got to negotiate the note. So negotiate it. Once you negotiate it, here it is. Now let's see your identification, please, to make sure you're the person whom the check is made out to. And she made hers out for the receiver-general of the Canada. So let's have a look at your authorization to see that you are the Receiver General of the Canada. And if not, I'm sorry, I can't give it to you. You're not the man whose this is made out to. Or your authorization's in fiction. So either way, she beat him hands down. So they didn't do either of those. They didn't show authorization, identification, nor did they present the note for negotiation. So for all intents and purposes, the debt is extinguished. We got it on tape, yeah.
Isn't that great?
One question, Rich. You mentioned today that fact is only present tense.
No. I said we exist in present tense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Besides, see what I say is I don't say that. Like I'll refer to the future as fiction because it's not here yet, and we can't document what's not been presented to us. But I don't call past fiction because past has occurred. We have record of it. So I just say the past is no. I don't call the past fiction. I call the past the other than present. And if you've assigned jurisdiction to the other than present, then you're not with the present, and therefore you don't have jurisdiction in the present. So just splitting time. We only have jurisdiction in present tense. I'll have these kits out here for you guys in a second.
Okay, we've got kits over. You have one question?
I was just going to add to that. In relationship to the Evidence Act, what is admissible in evidence in court? An affidavit is a statement of fact, point. And that's what's admissible in court. So there is a statement of fact in past tense
Yeah, providing the trick is that affidavit reads in the present. You can don't have it reading, and I went to the store and and did see this, because you did in the past and you went to, you never got there, you keep it always reading the present. That's why when, like, say, for the complainant is with the injury, with the damage, I'm with it, it's on me, I'm get this thing off. I'm in court for redress for the remedy. Until I get remedy from the court, I'm with the injury. But the lawyers call you the injured party. And as soon as you say injured, are you the injured party? Yep, boom.